Welcome, welcome. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, gender. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everyone. We are live, and it is Monday. I trust that everyone enjoyed their weekend and that you had fun, Laughed a little bit or laughed a lot. I sure trust that everyone did. Now, some of the questions I see, some of the questions that I see tend to lean towards, well, what do I do to get this? What do I do to get that? I understand, because it is where we live and we need things, right? But I find that people try to live the principles as if it were a fad. You bring it out and you use it, and when you're done, you put it back. I find that that is what people do. But when you live the principles, right? When you live the principles, you begin to realize that it's not a fad. It's not something that you bring out when you need it and dust it off and, oh, look, I got what I want. I'm going to put it away. No. The principle of rhythm doesn't just come out when it feels like it. The principle of rhythm is always on. The principle of mentalism is always on. Like, they don't take a break. They cannot take a break. They are perpetually in motion. Why? Because this is how the world turns. They are the foundation of the universe. So you have to live. I don't want to say you have to. You can do whatever you want. It is suggested that you live your life with that knowing. Right? It is suggested that you live your life with the knowing that you and I are always under the governance of the principles, and not under as in underfoot, under thumb. No. It is more like we exist because they exist. This is what it is. So the easiest way, and this is why I like how Neville Goddard shares it, the easiest way to live deliberately is to check your mood. That's it. Observe the mood. When you observe your mood, is painting you a picture. It paints you a picture of what you presently are. In other words, what are you aware of being? Well, I'm aware of being cranky. I'm aware of being happy. I'm aware of being whatever that is. Right? Being aware of yourself is the way forward. Because when you see what you're doing, you'll be able to recognize what mood you are in. I've told you many times, sometimes when I drive, I'm a different cat altogether. That horn, me hollering, yeah. But I've also realized that if I'm listening to music that I genuinely love, I'm in a different frame of mind when I drive. And so I tend to lean towards being in that mood more than being the one who's leaning on the horn. It is just simply what we practice, right? And that's the thing. We all know that what you practice, well, you become that thing. You get good at it by becoming it. I always mention these elite athletes. They don't have that title because they practice, 3 days a week or they practice 2 days a week. No, no, no. They get that title because they train every day. What are they training for? They are training to become the best at what they do. So it is a way of life for them. It's interesting to observe after they retire. Very interesting, right? Now they move on to different things that they've always wanted to do. So now they're moving into a different frame of mind. So if you watch it, you will see that we're constantly moving from mood to mood. And like, if you study the principle of rhythm, you will know that there's an ebb and there's a flow. Always an ebb and a flow. It's never just an ebb and it's never just a flow. It is the movement between the ebb and the flow, which shows you that you cannot sustain a mood indefinitely. You can't be happy 24/7, 365, or 66. You will get angry in there. You might get sad in there. The point is, if you can recognize that there is an ebb and a flow, you will flow with it. And you will realize it for what it is. It's just a stage that you're in. The ebb is the time that you gather your strength. It's the pull back. Think of the tsunami. The further back it goes, the stronger it becomes. So the ebb is the time to rejuvenate, to recover, to replenish. So when you are in the ebb, you don't complain about, oh my God, I've got nothing to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. No, use the ebb to regather your thoughts. The ebb is the break. It is the moment of, oh, that is what the ebb is there for. So that when you come out of the ebb into the flow, you know where you're flowing towards. It's not something that you do willy-nilly. It is a way of life, right? This is, and this is why, quote unquote, rituals exist, so that we remember how to live. But again, people use rituals when they want something. See, this is how humanity tends to be. And I find that humanity will turn depending on the stimulus, meaning what kind of experience are they having right now? Good, bad, or indifferent. That's how they're going to behave based upon that mood that they're in. So if you can pay attention to what mood you are in, you will begin to predict is not even the right word, because predict would mean you're drawing it out of the blue. You're kind of like guessing in a way. That's how we take predicting. But in actuality, if you know what mood you are in, you can forecast. You can say, you see, because I'm in this mood, I know I'm going to behave like that. That's what it is. That's how in tune you become with your own self. You begin to feel when you move into a different mood. And that's the thing that people always ask. Like, I had this lady come through the till. She goes, every time I see you, you're happy. I said, well, you must be, you catch me when I'm not driving. Right? It's not that I'm happy all the time, because I'm not. Ask my boy. Ask the chickens. Ask the chickens. No, I'm not happy all the time. Because you can't be. But what you do is you make a habit out of what you want to be, so that you choose that habit, you do it. And it looks like it's always on. It looks like it's sustained, when in actuality, you're just moving in and out of it. But because you move into one more than the other, it looks like you're sustaining it. That is what happens. So remember, it's not a, oh, I'll use it when I need to. See, because then that habit is training you to always react when you're having a crisis. So you just live from one crisis to the next, because that is the habit. Why? Because you take it up and you use it only when you need something. So you're always going to be in that mood. You're going to swing in that mood all the time, because that's what you've practiced. But if you practice being consistent, meaning you live by way of principle. Well, how is that, Angela? What do you mean by live by way of principle? Well, they are mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation, which means, in a very simplistic way, that you are always aware of what you are. What you are, where you are, why you are. You're aware of it. You're paying attention to yourself. And then we get the principle of correspondence. As within, so without. As above, so below. Things match. Why? Because everything is always moving. It cannot stand still. If there was no movement, there'd be no change. So everything is always moving. So how do you apply the principle of vibration? Because that's what it is. The principle of vibration tells us that nothing stands still. How do you apply that in your life? When you catch yourself saying, oh my God, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Can you be stuck if everything moves? Clearly not. So you've got to remember that you are just moving through this stage, which takes us right to polarity. And some would say that polarity would be opposites. It's not an opposite. Polarity, there's only one thing moving, just one, and it's moving through a stage. For example, fruit, a mango, starts as a mango seed, and it sprouts, and it becomes this mango tree, and then you get mango blossoms, and then you get mango fruit, and you get mango seed again. That is polarity, moving from seed to fruit. Only one thing is moving, which is that seed. So the mango seed is not opposite the fruit. They look like they're opposites, but they are exactly the same in their nature. Love and hate. Ow. Well, they look like they're opposites, but they're not opposite at all. They are one and the same. Just a matter of degrees separates them, aka a thin line between love and hate. It's just ever so slightly. But they're the same. Don't get it twisted. You go into any court of law. But Your Honor, I loved her so much, I dot dot dot. Your Honor, I hated them so much, I dot dot dot. You see the intensity of it? They're the same in their nature, which would be the passion. Okay? But when something moves, it moves in a rhythmic fashion, that ebb and flow. But don't get it twisted. The degree of the ebb has to match the degree of the flow. With correspondence, as within, so without. So if you're swinging 90 degrees to the left, you've got to come back 90 degrees to the right, because rhythm always compensates. And you know how we say it in the world: punishment must fit the crime. That's how we say it in the world, in layman's terms. So that when you see this thing, this pattern, you can say, oh, I know what that is, because it unfolds in that particular way. That's rhythm. But then that rhythm causes an effect. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. So if you say, well, I don't know why that happened. Listen, if there is an effect, there was a cause. And if there's a cause, there will be an effect. They travel together. There is no delay between the two of them. None whatsoever. This is how cause and effect works. And finally, after cause and effect, we get the principle of gender, not to be confused with man, woman, boy, girl. That is how we see it below, but there is an above. We are constantly in a state of generation. Why? Because everything is moving. We generate an idea, which is masculine, and it is invisible. Masculine is invisible because I don't know what your idea is until you show it to me. You give it form, which is feminine. So we're always moving from the invisible to the visible, because it is how we generate. It is how we bring things into fruition. It is how we design things. The seamstress, the tailor, the baker, the chef, the artist, the dancer, the singer, the actor. All of those things start with an idea. The sculptor, the architect, the engineer, they are invisible ideas. And then they take form. That is what masculine means. Invisible. Feminine means form. Because we generate from the invisible to the visible, aka manifestation. So manifestation is not a fad. It is not something to believe in. It is what one observes. When you say, oh my God, I could totally go for a piece of pie right now, that's just a twinkle in your eye. You don't even have to say it out loud. Like, that was like Mom yesterday. She was so excited. She wanted ice cream. She didn't say she wanted ice cream out loud, but my sister showed up and brought her ice cream. Some would say, well, what a coincidence. You remember what a coincidence is? The thing that you were thinking of, you interacted with. That's why you say, oh my God, I was just thinking of you. I was just gonna call you. It was invisible first, but then it materializes. This is a way of life, not a fad. So you practice. You practice. And some would say, but Angela, what about God? What about God? God is the name we have given to something. I'm not here to tell you whether God exists or does not exist. The principles sure as heck didn't get here on their own. They were thought of in great detail. And the way the principles, if you look at them, the way the principles were thought of shows you the mind of the thinker. When you see the mind of the thinker, you realize that it is balanced. As within, so without. You reap what you sow. There's no punishment, there's no reward, which is something we find very challenging to deal with. Because this guy brought his dog into the store, and the dog remembers because we have dog treats. And so my coworker, she's so cute. She's like, "Can you shake a paw?" And so the dog put her paw in my coworker's hand to shake the paw. And now I wasn't upset. I just said, "Oh, for the love of God and all things. We know the dog wants the treat. Just give him the treat. Why do we need to make him do tricks? Why? The dog knows that it's going to get the treat. That's what it wants. Just give it the treat. But now we got to be entertained, right?" So that's what I said. I'm like, "Oh man, just just scratch him behind the ears and give him the treat. It's just simple as that." Because it knows cause and effect very well. And the dog has a great memory. So when you look at the principles, you will realize there's no punishment or reward in them. It is simply, who do you say you are? Then that is how you will behave. No magic, no pomp and ceremony, just simplicity. You say you're this, well, your actions should match because they have to. This is why when people speak with their mouths, they speak with their mouths, but the essence of what they are, because now we have these words, conscious and subconscious, right? Wait a minute. One of those things is invisible and the other is not. So the invisible is the subconscious. It is presently formless. But because The invisible becomes visible. This is why it is necessary for you to know what is invisible within you. How do you know what's invisible? By looking at the behavior. By looking at the behavior, the feminine, the form, the behavior. So you see, it is the way we live naturally. But because we don't look at it, we don't pay attention to it, we just do it. We just do it. So if I say to you that scripture, train up a child in the way it should go and it will not depart from it. Now you understand what it actually means. It means we learn, we do what we